Hey folks, so in this video we're going to talk about NVIDIA and their Q3 earnings. So as usual, I'm going to kind of walk you through how we get there. So I am on the NVIDIA investor page. I'm going on to the financial info tab. I'm going to click on that. And right now we are looking at Q3 2023. So keep in mind that NVIDIA is 1 year ahead. So their fiscal year is 1 year ahead. So NVIDIA operates in the future, basically. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to click into Q3 2023. And right here, they give us a little breakdown of everything for this quarter. But what I really like is this table right here. This table right here basically gives us everything. So if we're looking at revenues for this quarter, we got $5.931 billion. So keep in mind, this is in millions. So this is actually billion. So 5.931 billion. So what are we actually comparing this to? We are comparing this to Q3 of fiscal year 2022. So if we're looking at this, it's basically down 17% year over year. So I'll show you this calculation right now. So let's take a look at this. We are getting the current, which is 5,931. We are subtracting by the previous, which is 7,103. And then we are dividing by the previous. So that's dividing by 7,103 equals. And then we're going to multiply this by 100 to get a percent. So here we can see that this is 16.5%. They just decided to round it up to 17%. So there you go. That's how we calculate that. Now, if we're looking at gross margin right here, gross margin did improve on the quarter. So if we're looking at the last quarter, gross margins were hit pretty hard. I mean, we're only getting 43.5%. Now, what does this mean? This means that for every $1 of revenue, we're only able to retain 43 cents, basically. Now here, this is saying, hey, for every $1 of revenue, we are able to retain 53 cents. So this is looking good right now. But, if we're comparing it to Q3 of 2022, it's down. It's down 11.6 points. So this is basically saying, hey, you know what? Last year, we were able to make 12 cents more for every dollar of sales. So, this is kind of mixed. I mean, it's bad in the sense that, the prior year was much better. But it's good in the sense that, from quarter to quarter, this is looking much better. I mean, we went from 53.6 to, or 43.5 to 53.6. So basically, we made 10 cents more on the dollar. Now, let's go ahead. Let's look at operating expenses. So yeah, operating expenses are up year over year. Let's take a look at the bottom line. So the bottom line right here is, we made $680 million for net income. But here in Q3 of fiscal year 2022, we made $2.464 billion. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't look too good. So if we're looking at diluted earnings per share, it fell significantly. So here we're looking at 27 cents. Here we're almost $1. I mean, we're 97 cents. So this is down 72% year over year. So yeah, that's because higher expenses and lower revenues. So not good, not good. Now, here's what we're going to look at next. Now, this company, they always give us an outlook. So this is what I like about NVIDIA. They give us an outlook. So they say revenue is expected to be $6 billion plus or minus 2% for the next quarter. So the next quarter is going to be the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2023. Now right here, they said GAAP and non-GAAP gross margin. So it says right here, GAAP margins are expected to be 63.2%. So hey, 63.2% is pretty darn good because look, right here we had gross margins of 56.1%. So this is 56 cents for every $1 of sales. Now here it's saying, hey, we're going to make 63 cents for every $1 of sales. So hey, you know what? That's much, much better. So this is good news. Good news. Better margins. So far, you know, we're getting bad news because, hey, revenue isn't as strong as last year. But hey, good news. The margins are going up. So, you know, overall, it's kind of mixed right now. So that's what we're seeing. So now the next question you need to ask is, hey, you know what? Revenue is expected to be $6 billion for Q4 of 2023. So now you have to ask yourself, hey, what was Q4 of 2022? So this is where I go back and I look at the press release for 2022 of Q4. So now we're going to take a look at this. Let's see. What did they make? They made a whopping $7.643 billion in revenue. So yeah, we have a huge, huge hurdle to get past. So let's just go ahead and look at the guidance. So the guidance was about $6 billion. So here, we're going to do the math real quick. So we're going to get the current, which is $6 billion. So it's going to be 6,000 if we're doing it in millions. And then we're going to subtract the prior. So that is 7,643. And then we're going to divide that by 7,643. What does that equal to? We're going to multiply that by 100 to get a percentage. So this is negative 21.5% year over year on the quarter. So yeah, growth is slowing down in NVIDIA. So yeah, big disappointment here. So if we're looking at gross margins for this quarter as well, it's 67%. So it's still, so 67% is much higher than 63.2. But, you know, like I said, you know, quarter over quarter, the margins are increasing. So, yeah, definitely, you know, this is definitely a mixed report. Now, last thing I want to talk about, did we come within expectation when we reported this $5.931 billion in revenue? Well, we could check that. So right here, I'm going to go into their Q2 of 2023 report, and we're going to look at what they gave for an outlook. So this will give you an idea of how accurate NVIDIA is with their earnings outlooks. So let's see, where are we? Right here. So it says right here, NVIDIA outlook for the third quarter of fiscal year 2023 is as follows. Revenue is expected to be $5.9 billion, plus or minus 2%. GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins are expected to be 62.4% and 65%. So 62.4%. So let's take a look at this. $5.9 billion in revenue, 62.4% in gross margins. So how did they fare? So they reported $5.931 billion. So it was within expectations because they did say plus or minus 2%. So this is within expectations. But here's where they missed. They missed on the gross margin. They reported 53.6. They were expecting 62.4. So, you know, it's the gross margins, they are increasing, but it did miss on this metric right here because, like I said, they were expecting 62.4%. So now we're going to do one last thing with all of these numbers. Because NVIDIA is going to report their Q4 of 2023, and they gave us the guidance number for that, we can look at the full year's revenue, and we could compare that to the full year revenue of fiscal year 2022. So now let's go ahead, let's pull up this Excel spreadsheet. So right here they said they're going to make about $6 billion. So now for the full year, you know, we have total revenue to be expected around $26.923 billion. Now in 2022, their full year revenue was $26.914 billion. So now we could do a year over year change. So I'm going to show you that calculation. We're going to do equal. We're going to do parentheses. We're going to do the current minus the previous. And then close that parenthesis. We're going to divide it by the previous. And we're going to put this in a percentage. So guys, there's almost 0% revenue growth going from 2022 to 2023. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a good one.